Welcome to Redefining Real Estate. I'm Rylan.
And I'm Morgan. Expect a mix of education, humor, and authentic conversation as we explore all things real estate.
Let's jump into today's episode.
All right, guys, this is our first episode of 2025. I hope y'all had a wonderful holiday season. Before we dove into the holidays, before Christmas, we asked all of our followers on Instagram, what is your biggest pet peeves about real estate salespeople, real estate agents, realtors, and you guys gave us a lot of your pet peeves. So let's start with this one. This is from another fellow realtor here in the area. She says, poorly written contracts and timely communication, especially lately.
Yes.
So I'm curious, have you experienced that lately?
I have very, very recently. I had a contract that was out on, I think, the day before New Year's Eve. It was, in the works. I was talking with the agent back and forth. He was fully responsive. He let me know that he's going to be available all the way up to New Year's and throughout the rest of the week. And I said, sounds good. So will I. I'll be reachable. I had Wi-Fi service, whole shebang.
And to clarify, you weren't even in town.
No,
You were literally like hours away.
Yeah, I was very, very far out of College Station, and submitted my offer New Year's Eve morning. Let him know, and he said, "Okay, thanks, appreciate it. Like, I'll get it to the seller. Like, we look forward to looking it over and getting back to you. All the good signs that we're going to hear something back pretty soon." And I did not hear back from him for 4.5 days, possibly. And I texted him a few times. I was like, "Hey, like, any updates?" And he said, "Not yet," and just not yet, and no, and haven't got a hold of them. Forgot to text this person, and it was very frustrating. Obviously, I know the holidays are a thing. I didn't expect anything. New Year's Day, like, people aren't really worried about that at the moment, but to not respond back for 4.5 days is pretty crazy, especially when you have a contract in your inbox. So yeah, it's definitely a frustrating thing that we all deal with, but I definitely think that we should really prioritize at least just getting back to people.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before with clients, with sellers especially. A lot of times if they're selling a property and they aren't super responsive, then maybe they don't live here or whatever. And it does become harder around the holidays. But it's like, you have to let the other agent know what's going on. Like, hey, here's my client's situation.
Right.
I hope to be hearing from them on this day and time or whatever.
Right.
And kind of at least letting them know what's up, because otherwise you run into a scenario where the buyer is freaking out. They're thinking like, okay, so they're thinking all these things about the seller that may or may not even be true, because they're trying to rationalize what's going on in their head.
Yeah, and whenever we finally did hear back from the seller, my client already kind of had their mind made up,
Like they had already moved on at that point?
Yeah, they were already looking at other houses because they were already thinking like, well, if they're taking this long to respond to our initial offer, like what more may happen, what more may be issues down the road, like if they're not responding and the agent's not being super like intentional with their responses, like what more are we going to run into? So they were already finding new houses to go look at before I even had anything to report back to them. So I'm glad that they kind of had that mindset, because at the same time, like, I don't disagree with them. If they're going to take that long just to respond to our initial offer, who knows what may have been a hiccup in that road. So
Right. Yeah. And I think it's important too, like when we have these experiences as buyer agents, that we can share them with potential sellers and listing appointments later down the line, because a lot of times they don't have an agent that's telling them, hey, this is the perspective of a buyer when you do X, Y, and Z. I actually had a showing over the weekend where I don't know if it was like an estate situation, but basically the house had been vacant, or had like the person had just moved out, and the agent told me, hey, we're coming in next week to clean the carpet, shampoo the carpets, do professional cleaning on the whole house, and repaint the whole house.
dang, okay.
I'm like, okay, great. So I told my person this before we even got to the house, because I wanted them to come in with that mindset of like, hey, all these things are going to be taken care of.
Right.
And then we walk in, and obviously you can't tell any of these things from the pictures, but we walk in, there's a very strong like animal smell, like just dog smell, kind of musty from it being vacant. And then we walk into the bedrooms, and it's carpeted bedrooms, and there's like long shaggy hair in like certain areas where you can tell it was like under furniture. And the walls were a really like weird eggshell, like tan color. So they held a lot of dirt and like weird texture to them.
Yeah.
And then we looked up at the air vents and they were like covered in black dirt. And immediately my buyer is like, oh, that's mold. And I'm like,
Yeah,
hold on.
Of course. It's always mold, black
It's
mold.
always mold, but I'm like, hold on. It's probably not mold. It could be moisture growth, but like also there's dog hair. Like it looks like it hasn't been cleaned yet. We don't know the seller's situation. It could be a variety of things, but like,
Right.
I don't know how many agents are actually coming to their sellers and telling them this information. Like, why would you move all the stuff? Like, why would you even go on the market if you're going to do all those things anyway? Just wait until they're completed to
Right.
do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's first impressions are everything, and it's really hard for people to look past certain things like that. And sometimes it's just hard to actually be able to explain, like, this is all going to be gone, and oftentimes people just kind of make up their mind and they don't really want to keep going just because it may be gross and they don't want to have to deal with that, even though they're going to clean it all, they're all going to do everything.
Right.
They already saw what it looked like dirty and they just may not get that image out of their head. So
Exactly. Yeah. Because I literally reiterated to her in person, like, remember, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then afterwards, she was like, yeah, I'm not interested at all. Like, based on the way that I've seen it being maintained, like, who knows what else could be going on.
Right.
And that's just the perspective of a buyer in today's market. So
Yeah, and that's all great things to tell people in listing appointments too, because if you can't have firm communication with stuff like that, I understand it was the holidays, but he assured me that wasn't going to be an issue, and wasn't expecting anything on the holidays, obviously, but multiple days afterwards is different. So
right.
I mean, yeah, establishing good communication and clear expectations is always going to be huge from day one. So
Yes.
if you can't do that, then you might have these issues, and that's what turns into pet peeves.
Yes, absolutely. So here is another one coming from a media person in the industry. They say, when a realtor says, I just want to help people, okay, cool, then do it for free. What's your take on that?
I love it, honestly. I really do, because obviously this is a job and we do get paid.
Yeah.
I think when realtors typically say that, they think they mean it. But I mean, at the end of the day, whenever you close on a house, like, we do get paid. It's not anything there. It's right there on the final sheet that the title company distributes. It's pretty obvious. So to say that we only do this just to help people isn't, a bad thing. But I mean, I don't want to act like we don't get paid either. Like, we do this to make money. This is how we make our living. But it's not like, I wouldn't say that's the main reason why I'm in real estate, is just to make a whole lot of cash or something, But it's definitely there. I'm not going to say it's not. Either.
Yeah, well, I agree. It's like when someone says, oh, like, I only do this to help people, or that's my main goal, it can be true, but it also does come off as ingenuine or inauthentic because, everybody knows we're getting paid. And let's be real, like, people think we're getting paid like bukus of money. So, like, I think that just doesn't align with how you should communicate about your business. Like, yes, you should tell people, I am here to help you, but I think what's even more impactful is actually just showing them. Like, don't just say it, like, show them first.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that we obviously try to practice here, but it just means a lot more to do things with your actions and have that message be conveyed versus just making like a just sold post and being like, I'm so happy to help my clients or whatever. Like, just a very different aspect there.
Yeah, I think too, you can really tell people's intentions whenever, like, you actually are working with them. The just sold posts, and that's all their social media is, or them driving their new car or whatever they just got.
The white BMW.
I was waiting for that. Whatever it may be, I think you can clearly tell people's motives. I do agree that, like, maybe that's your top priority is to help your clients, but in a close second, it's going to be getting paid too. Like, it's not like you're in it for the money or you're only in it to help people. Like, it's both, really. But you're not going to go and tell people, hey, I'm in this to make money. It's just, it seems ingenuine too. So it's kind of a fine line, just as long as you acknowledge all of it and really just show people who you are. I don't really think you'll be too bad.
For sure. Okay, this is our next one from another agent here in the area. He says, old agents who think they know it all and that us young agents don't know anything and that we're not educated. Have you ever had an experience where an older agent, like, came across as condescending or, that they knew more than you, kind of tried to boss you around?
Yeah, I mean, a million times over. So the original broker I started out at had some older agents there, and they were still learning what like a computer was. I'm being serious.
Wait, can you specify what older agent means to you?
I would say someone that's been doing it probably like 20 plus years, 30 years. Like
Okay.
just someone that's been in the industry forever. They're getting to the end of their career. They're not like super hard charging anymore, but they're just doing it just to continue paying their bills and
Got it.
be well off. So yeah, I had a lot of older agents try to help me, which really kind of didn't really help because their ways of what used to be real estate didn't really apply to where I was at, and it was really hard to communicate and understand what they were trying to teach me. And whenever I would ask questions they didn't know the answers to, but I mean, they've been doing this forever, they have to have the answers. Like if they
Right.
don't, then who does? And yeah, like they try to help them do PDFs and online things. It was hard, and it was hard to understand what they were saying because certain things weren't even in practice anymore. So I don't think that's going to be the standard for everyone. I mean, I had some experiences with it, but also those agents were still trying to learn and keep up as well. So I don't think it's a blanket statement, but I do think that there's a majority of realtors out there. I mean, with all the changes going on, it's really hard to keep up. So that's kind of my take on it, but I mean, what do you think?
I've had older agents in transactions kind of try to push me around or steer me a certain way, especially during like COVID times where I was mainly a buyer's agent and
Right.
buyers were more desperate, and it's multiple offers and it's this whole like blown up thing, this
Right.
drama of, multiple offers within an hour of listing it or whatever. But beyond that, I haven't really seen a lot of that kind of uneducated, I guess, viewpoint, but I don't know if it's because I am on a team and I've always been on a team, so I don't
Right.
maybe come across as someone who is uneducated. But yeah, I know that is definitely an issue in the industry, and especially like locally, because we have so many of the older agents that you mentioned that
Right.
have been here for 20, 30 plus years,
Right.
that are in their 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but what are some of the ones that you received on your page?
So I got a couple. Some of them funny, some of them pretty serious. But the first one I got was from a photographer out of Austin. She let me know that any sales pushiness is a turnoff. I agree.
Yes.
I don't think that we're in the business of trying to get you to sign up for a course or something, and try and force you into a home. That's definitely something from day one that we're very clear about. Is you can take all year, you can not buy anything. You're never obligated to sign a contract and buy a home when you're working with us, So I definitely think that there's realtors / salespeople out there that are just super like hard charging like that. But I mean, I don't think that's going to be the way to do it nowadays.
I agree. And it's interesting when I've worked with clients who have worked with other agents in the past, and it sometimes feels like they're expecting me to say like, well, you need to make a decision right now. Whereas I'm usually like, we walk into a house and I may say, here's, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, blah, blah, blah. And then I just let them do their thing. Like, I'm not going to try to enforce my beliefs on them while we're walking through a house. I'm not going to say at the end of the showing, okay, are y'all ready to make an offer? I'm going to say, do you have any questions? Do you want me to run the comps on this? Are you interested in the data and the numbers? Are you interested in X, Y, and Z? Trying to prompt them to think of information that they may feel is necessary to make their decision. But I never want to, be like, okay, well, now you need to make a decision. Unless, obviously, we're in a position where it's like, we've written offers before and we know there's time-sensitive things happening. But that's where, but I totally agree. Like, it's awkward when it's salesy, in my opinion, or that's how I feel. Like, if I'm trying to be salesy, that's just like, so, I'm like, I think of that meme where it's like, the tongue that's like retracting from like something it tasted that was really nasty.
Yeah.
That's like how I feel about
the,
being,
ugh.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about being salesy, because it's just so like not me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The information part's great versus you're ready to make an offer. I think we definitely know our clients well enough to kind of see when they're ready, and typically, I mean, from my experience, they just kind of tell me. I'm like, all right, well, if y'all are ready, then I'm ready. Let's get to work.
Right.
But yeah, I never want to be like, so like offer or and then then it just gets gross. I 100% agree. It gets gross. So.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that are buying their first house, they're not really sure what to expect, especially if we hadn't had a chance to like sit down with them and like formally kind of go through the process. So I think a lot of times they're kind of expecting it to be like a car dealership where like the salesperson shows you the car and then they're like, okay, let's go back and talk at my desk and talk numbers and like that person kind of leading you through that process. But while for some clients that may be more of the approach that they're needing, I don't think that is for the majority of people, because I think it is very important for them to really make their own decisions and not feel any like buyer's remorse or regret, and then come back and be like, well, you said, you blamed us or whatever.
For sure. And I think too, like, especially first-time home buyers, they know that like we're a sales-oriented business, but oftentimes I do forget that, like upon like first time meeting people, like it is sales, but it doesn't really feel that way in my opinion, especially with the way that we structure things here. So I definitely think we take that kind of out of the equation, although obviously it's still sales. So.
Yeah.
But so I got another one. I don't know if this is funny or not, but it's from a local marketing genius, if you will.
Okay.
She said that we live out of our cars, with a bunch of laughing emojis on there. So that one was, I think, meant to be funny, and also I don't really understand. I don't live out of my car.
Yeah.
I don't think you live out of your car. So I think that's kind of geared more towards solo agents who may not have like an established office or workspace.
Right. I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think we're a little bit more privileged because we do have an office space that hosts all of our signs and marketing material, and we have desks that have all of our crap in it rather than
clutter.
Yeah, rather than having to keep them in our cars, luckily.
Yes.
But yeah, I totally agree. I think that's more of like a solo agent kind of thing.
Yeah, whenever I was like first starting out, there was like times like on a Monday, like after you do all your open houses and stuff, cars like full of signs, and then all your like MLS sheets are in there, all your flyers are in there. You kind of start to look around, you're like, oh no, like got to clean this out. But I mean, it's always good just to keep your car not spotless, but if someone were to get in there just for a quick showing or something, that it's at least presentable, if you will.
Yeah, because you just never know when someone's going to need a ride. Yeah. Anyways, what's your next one?
My next one is not answering their phones. So that kind of ties back to the first one we did. But, I mean, time and time again, you call a realtor to schedule a showing or whatever it may be, and straight to voicemail, maybe multiple times in the same day. Kind of crazy, because typically if someone's calling me, and no matter if it literally says spam risk, I'm answering the phone.
Right.
I think it's just a good habit, but yeah, what's your experience?
So it's interesting that you bring this up now. I mean, I feel like in this day and age, calls are less and less popular. Granted, you and I do make calls every day, like outbound to people, to gauge their interest in real estate. But I do feel like, especially if you're in a transaction and you see who it is on caller ID or it doesn't look like spam, then like 100% I'm picking up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, I feel like, again, usually they message you, right? But I had this situation just this past week when I was out of town where I had kind of like turned off my brain from work. I was like, I want to like step away for a week and not do anything work related. Of course, that's not really how it went.
Same.
But I was literally playing like video games on my iPad. This is what I do in my free time, by the way, playing Call of Duty Mobile on my iPad.
You didn't invite me?
Yeah, I didn't even invite you. So I was doing that, and I randomly see these Facebook messages come in from someone that I'm friends with on Facebook, but that I've never met in person. And they're like, hey, can you call me? They sent like 3 messages. Hey, can you call me, or can I call you? I have a real estate question.
The triple text.
The triple text. And I was like, that's so weird. Let me like finish this up and then I'll call them, right? By the way, the matches are only 10 minutes, so please don't come for me. But anyways, then he like immediately called me because I have my like work number on all my social media, and literally it says like call or text this number. So he called me, we had a conversation, and he was like, hey, this is so-and-so from Facebook. We have some mutual friends. I'm looking into like upgrading my house. I currently own one, and the girl that I used to buy it 2 years ago isn't in the industry anymore. Big shocker.
Yeah.
And I've been friends with you on Facebook, and I think you're really cool. So I was just reaching out to see if you could help me. And so we had a conversation from there, and it ended up he wasn't necessarily ready right now to do anything, but that's completely fine. The fact that he felt comfortable enough to just like give me a call, I thought was really cool.
For sure.
And I also feel like I heard this story from a lender once that she was trying to get in touch with an agent, and they didn't have their phone number anywhere online. And so that really like clicked with me, where I was like, I need to have my contact number like everywhere that I can, because you just never know when someone's going to want to call or text you.
Right.
And especially with text, like that's a lot more of like less anxiety inducing, I would say, than having to call someone.
For sure.
So I want to give people that option too, rather than like having to reach out to me like through the DMs or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's great. Oftentimes people don't have like their phone numbers right there, front and center. Definitely a good thing to be practicing for sure.
Do you have your phone number on social media?
I do. I don't think it's like in my bio, though. And I don't put it
Canceled.
I don't put it on my post either. That probably should be a thing that I start doing more often, but you can find my phone number if you're looking for it.
Yeah. See, I'm conflicted about putting it in the post, because it always feels weird to like sign off of a social media post with like an email signature.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels more natural for me to just like put it in the bio. That way, if it's if it's someone else in the industry or a potential client, then they can reach me. But that's probably also why I get like 10 spam calls a day.
That's fair. If anyone's watching this and you go and look at my bio after this is posted, my phone number is going to be there. So you should probably hold me accountable to that.
All right. Well, I think that probably wraps up all of the pet peeves that our audience can think of. If you guys want to look down in the description, both of our social media accounts will be linked down below. Give us a follow and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. We will be talking about more real estate related content here in 2025, and we look forward to catching you on the next episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you found something useful, or at least had a good time listening.
Yeah, if you enjoy this episode, feel free to subscribe or share it with someone who might enjoy this content.
And if you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, reach out to us on Instagram. Everything will be linked below for you.